So Kamala Harris has been doing the morning shows, and she was explaining how tough these sanctions are on Russia. Here she is.
Is that something that the administration would would consider in terms of further sanctions, cutting off the oil and gas part of the economy?
For just a second. Is that something that the administration would consider adding in the future, cutting off the Russian oil supply? Is that something they would consider? See, I would think that that's where we would start. You know what I'm saying? I would think that's their major source of income. You know, I'm not a ballet dancer, and I probably would not look good in a leotard. However, if they hit me first, when they try to shut us down, if they hit me first with no money from your ballet performances, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to cry. I'm going to weep. It's going to be terrible. 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 Don't hit me, like on the radio thing or the broadcasting thing. No. A lot of my money comes through ballet dancing. And then if you say, I can't watch Batman. What do you mean? I'm going to have to wait? You're not going to give me an advance showing of Batman? No premieres of Batman? Are you out of your mind between that and ballet dancing? How am I going to go on? That's what Putin is thinking right now. So the question to our vice president is, would you guys consider cutting off his money supply by banning Russian oil exports?
Is that something that the administration would would consider in terms of further sanctions, cutting off the oil and gas part of the economy for Russia?
Well, as you know, that on this issue, for example, we applaud Germany in terms of what it has done as it relates to Nord Stream 2, as it relates to what we need to do domestically as well as what we need to do in terms of this issue generally. Right. We have, as the president said, reevaluated what we're doing in terms of the strategic oil reserve here in the United States to make sure.
Anybody notice? I mean, somebody, please send up a flare. If she gets close to answering the question, just send up a flare. We'll come back to
In terms of what?
In terms of considering cutting the money off.
In terms of oil?
Yeah.
In terms of her answer about in oil, in terms of the money?
Yeah.
In terms of that? Okay.
If you see that, just send up a flare.
In terms of her answer?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah. In terms of
her response to the question.
So then she goes right into, as the president has said, we're addressing this now with our strategic oil reserves. Now let's just do a little math here. Okay. First of all, we're talking about hurting the Russians, not America. Okay. How do we cut their money off from oil? He's doing a bang-up job of cutting all of our money off by making oil and gasoline wildly expensive. Okay. Hey, don't you wish you lived up north right now so you could pay for the oil and gas to heat your house? Oh, my gosh, you in Boston must be having a blast right now. Oh, by the way, in Boston, you're the one receiving the Russian oil. All right. So we're going to release the Strategic Oil Reserve. Let's look at those three words, shall we? Strategic Oil Reserve. What does that imply? Well, it's a place you put oil, right?
Mm-hmm. In terms of oil.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You're reserving it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're reserving it for what?
Some sort of strategic purpose.
What is that? Well, it's certainly not higher prices. The Strategic Oil Reserve is something that we started because when we got into global war, we went, geez, if somebody cuts off our oil, we better have enough oil so we could make, the fuel for our planes and aircraft carriers. That's what the Strategic Oil Reserve is for. Now, it's not like we're on the edge of World War III. It's not like we have a global conflict. 2 weeks ago, None of us were thinking, hey, I wonder if they're going to launch missiles. None of us were thinking. None of us were going, it is a possibility that we have World War III. I mean, it could happen tomorrow. None of us were thinking that. I'm a guy who worries about everything. I wasn't worried about that 2.5 weeks ago. Were you? So, 2.5 weeks ago, maybe, hey, we're going to dip into the strategic oil reserves. The oil that we have reserved strategically so our war machine could have fuel. Let's dip into that. You know what? We're just going to release a whole bunch of stuff. It is, according to Goldman Sachs, not going to make a dime of difference at the gas pump. But let's just get rid of some of that oil. Man, that oil is just sitting around, not doing anything. Okay. This is great. You know what we should do? We should go and try to destroy anything with the word Russian in it. Like the Russian tea room. Do you hear in Washington, D.C., the Russian, Waffle House or whatever the hell it is in Washington, D.C.? Probably, it's in D.C., probably run by either the Russian mob or, the KGB, probably. But, I don't think we need to go in and destroy it. Do you? I mean, as a private citizen, do you think that's really... he did lose his black belt. Now, if he loses the Russian Waffle House, what is he going to do? People are also in New York City not going to the Russian tea room in protest. Now, let's think this one through. The Russian tea room. It was started in, the 1920s, 1927. Started by Russian ballet people. Yeah. From the Soviet Union. Yeah, that's the time. Now, who knows what the Russian tea room really is, But let me just tell you, I know it was started in the 20s. I know it was started by a bunch of Russians, and I know there were a bunch of ballerinas, okay? I know that they were performing at Carnegie Hall, and then they left. They just left their country. And they needed to make ends meet, so they started a Russian tea room. My gosh, the infiltration in this country is crazy. Now, let's not think and dwell too long on the fact that maybe in 1927, those members of the Imperial Ballet didn't like what was happening in the Soviet Union and defected. A Russian tea room, wait a minute, no, it's all about Russia. That tea's got something in it that makes me hate Ukrainians. Let's not eat there, I'll tell you that right now. What is wrong with us? This is the first time. Yeah, I think I can say this. It's the first time that I have seen such a coordinated effort on all fronts. I don't know what's true anymore. I really don't know. I have no idea. I know I've done my homework over the last 2 years because of the Trump nightmare, the lies that came from the media last time about Ukraine. I know who they are. I know how they're connected to Joe Biden and his lovely son. I know that our State Department is responsible for that little Nazi group. What? How could you say that? They hate Nazis. No, they really don't. Our State Department and our CIA, they'll fund anyone. Anyone. Oh, that's crazy. They would never do that. I mean, certainly they wouldn't have done that with Osama bin Laden. We're the ones who financed all of that. And then it became a little tough. Now, all of the newspapers, all of them, New York Times, Washington Post, they have done long stories on this particular Nazi group. Okay? They've been against it. They've been, wait a minute, none of them are exposing that we financed it with that missing $7 billion. Where did I put that $7 billion? But now the Washington Post and the New York Times, they're just rediscovering this Nazi group. What? Have you heard? No, that can't be true. No, Ukraine is the good guy. It's a small group. It's nothing to worry about, really, because I read your newspaper. I read what you said before. How do you trust anything? My job is to tell you the truth. I can't tell you the truth of what's going on in Ukraine because I can't read anything other than what social media has filtered for me. So I only see one side of it, or what the cable news companies are showing me. I don't know. I just know that Stephen Miller was right, that this is the first war that is all social media. No, how dare you say that? Is it because you're white and these people are white? What about Syria? No. This one is highly organized. This one involves everyone, and it involves Zelensky, who I like. But let's not forget he's an actor. Let's not forget he knows how to use social media. Good for him. I'm glad. But do we know? I mean, look how many things that we have heard. Have you heard about the ghost of, Ghost of Kiev? What was that ghost?
The pilot that was supposedly knocking down all these planes. Yeah. Not accurate.
It's what?
Not accurate.
No, don't pay attention to him. Did you hear about those brave Ukrainian soldiers that were on that island and the Russian ship came up and said, hey, you give up your arms. And they were like, "Nyet! Screw you, Russia." Yeah, that was a great story. Oh, not true.
Well, they did say that. They just didn't die after it.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Those brave soldiers didn't go out in a blaze of glory.
It was still kind of a badass move, but they did not actually die.
The story, who knows what stories are true or not? Okay, we're in the fog of war. My problem with this is everybody is just jumping onto a bandwagon, and if you disagree or question and say, "Hey, let's not race to World War III," you of course are an enemy.
Yeah, to this point, Glenn. We are sitting here talking about this furious Ukrainian response, which does seem to be real. And
it does.
Something that I'm cheering on. I want them to fight back and fight back valiantly as they are. But how many stories have you heard from the media about how Russia stalled? They've tried to do this. It's been a lot harder. They're not getting to where they wanted to be. So it's been a week since this started. A week. It took us 2 weeks to get to Baghdad. So we are half of the time that it took us in what we all would look at as like the easiest, quickest war ever for us to get to Baghdad. Remember the whole Baghdad Bob stuff? Like we anyone who said that they were coming up with a furious defense, they were mocked because it took us 2 weeks. It's only been 1 week. I mean, I know social media and the news cycle makes it seem like this has been going on forever. It's been 1 week, and I fear that we have a lot of really ugly days coming here in the coming weeks and months.
That is my point.
Yeah.
How do you know what's really going on on the ground? Have you heard the Russian side? I believe it's most likely propaganda. But I can tell you the West is all propaganda as well right now. This is the reason you have a free flow of information, so you can read differing accounts and make your own decisions. But if we really are a nation of like, wait a minute, so that was a big country going into a smaller country and that's somehow wrong, well then I guess we need overlords to tell us what we can do. Yeah, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to spit that tea out at that that commie tea room. Come on, America. We're better than this. We are better than this.